Hello, honors algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here with your flipped lesson, and today you're going to be able to say I can solve radical equations, equations with rads in them. Before we actually do it, they're going to look something like this, and it's actually super duper simple. Uh, we're going to look at something like this, real easy. Let's say we have the square root of 5. I want to know what happens if I square the square root of 5. Well, I'm going to do this the long way. Some of you might be able to intuitively take a guess. But doesn't the squaring the square root of 5 mean rad 5 times rad 5? And then, of course, I can go ahead from what I learned the other day and say that's the same as rad of 5 times 5. And the two 5s can go out on one date, right? And so we get 5. Well, what happens with the root and the exponent? Well, they're inverses of each other. They undo each other. So squaring a square root gets rid of the square root. They cancel each other out. Just like, if I had 10 and I multiplied it by 4 and then I divided it by 4, wouldn't I end up with 10 again? Right? 10 times 4 would be 40. 40 divided by 4 would be 10. Because multiplication and division are inverses of each other. Or if I have 5 and I take away 3 and then I add 3 more, don't I end up with 5? They're inverses of each other. They cancel each other out. Remember, in multiplication, they cancel to 1. In addition and subtraction, they cancel to 0. Okay, so when I have a problem like this, oops, like number 1, rad of 4x minus 4 equals rad x. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to square each side. So I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square this side. Well, x times x, that's x squared, right? This square and the rad cancel each other out, leaving 4x minus 4. What kind of equation do I have? Corvus can tell me, I hope, that this is a quadratic because it's raised to the second power. So I'm going to get everything to one side. So I'm going to have 0 equals x squared minus 4x plus 4. I know some of you think I skipped a step there, but at this point in the year, I expect you to know exactly what I did. I'm not going to show you every baby step along the way. All right, I can either use the quadratic formula on this, or if possible, I could factor. Looks like this is a perfect square trinomial, and I believe it'll factor like this. X minus 2 times x minus 2. And therefore, my solution is going to be x equals 2. I can test it. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. The rad of 4 is 2. And x was 2. There we go. It works. Let's try another one. All I did was square both sides. Well, 3 squared is 9. Now I'll do the easy side, the rad of x plus 5 squared, just x plus 5. This is a linear equation because the highest exponent is 1. And I'm going to subtract 5, subtract 5. X is going to equal 4. If I want to check it, I can go 4 plus 5, 9, rad 9, 3. It works. Now, I know some of you might be smart enough to just figure out x, but on a problem like this, it's going to be less likely that you're able to do that. Make sure you know the steps involved, okay? Problem number 3. I'm going to square both sides. The left-hand side simply becomes x minus 1. The right-hand side becomes x squared. It's quadratic. I'm going to take everything over, so I'll get 0 on the left. I'll get x squared minus x plus 1. I don't think that's going to factor. So I'll identify A, B, and C. Oops, I don't want to put C there. And ABC will be easy as 1, negative 1, 1. All right, now I'm going to go check my discriminant, my b squared minus 4ac. And so b squared is going to be 1 minus 4 times 1 times 1. And I'm going to get 1 minus 4, which is negative 3. My discriminant is less than 0. This has no solution. There's no solution to it. Okay? There you go. I don't think I'm going to do any more examples with this because it really couldn't get all that much more difficult. I'll tell you what, I'll do one more example. Let's say I had x squared equal to 80. Well, I could subtract 80 from both sides and do the quadratic formula on it. Or I could take the square root of both sides because squares undo square roots, or square roots undo squares, right? And so I'm going to have x is going to equal to uh, plus or minus rad 80, square root of 80, excuse me, and I'm going to break that one down. Let's see here. I'm thinking 16 goes in there 5 times. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I've got plus or minus 4 times 4 times 5. Where'd I get that from? Well, that's from 16, right? Okay, so I'm going to get plus or minus 4 rad 5, and that's what x will equal. Okay, just making sure you know how to do it when they have x squared equaled 80. All right, that should be the lesson for today. Not too tough. Just have to square both sides. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Good night, everybody.